Welcome to the Happiness Podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Puff. Happiness. How do we find happiness? Well, as you can probably imagine, it involves doing certain things on a regular basis. It's kind of like being in shape. If you want to be in shape, you have to eat well and exercise. It's really the same way with being happy. There are things that we do, habits that we engage in every day, and they create a happier life than other habits that we may do that create unhappiness in life. For example, if we were to watch, say, hours and hours of very violent, perhaps abusive videos on YouTube, we probably wouldn't be very happy at the end of that. On the other hand, going outside, being in nature, sitting, being with friends that are positive and uplifting, these are activities that will lead to happiness. There are things that we can do to make our lives better, and if we do them regularly, we're going to do better overall. But the problem is, we are creatures of habits, and habits are that. We may have been doing that habit, say, for a week, or we may be doing the habits that we have in place for decades, and the longer we've done them, the more difficult they are to change. But the good news is any habit can be changed. It just takes work. But today I want to talk about a tool that we can use to help create habits that are good for us with not so much suffering, and one that will create habits that we'll end up enjoying and sticking to. And the technique I want to talk about today is called temptation bundling. Let me use a really good example to illustrate it. Let's say we finish our academic training and we haven't been working out for a long time because the PE courses aren't required anymore and we're not involved in any sports activities. We may watch sports, but we don't do sports. But at the same time, we know working out is good for us. So let's say we buy a gym membership and we decide we're going to start going to the gym 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Or if we don't have a gym nearby, we get a treadmill and we're going to get on that treadmill every day. Well, because we haven't worked out for a very long time, perhaps years, getting on that treadmill or going to the gym can be, at the best, very challenging. And it's challenging for several reasons. One is because we have habits in place. After a long day of work, we want to come home and relax. Perhaps we want to have a glass of wine, watch some television. We don't want to go to the gym and spend an hour there or get on that treadmill. It would be exhausting and it would hurt. At the end of working out, we may actually be in pain. So why would we want to do that? We know it's good for us, but after we do it a couple times, we stop because it just creates too much pain. The pain mostly comes from, though, our habits. Habits are habits. People that work out, if they were to sit and watch a television show all night long after a long day of work, they would feel as uncomfortable as a person who hasn't worked out would feel uncomfortable going to the gym. Habits are just habits. So we can change these habits, but in the process of changing them, there's going to be discomfort because we're used to our habits, and when we change habits, it's just uncomfortable. They can be psychologically uncomfortable, they can be physically uncomfortable, but they are uncomfortable. So here's what temptation bundling does to help us. We, let's say, for example, want to start getting on the treadmill or going to the gym for an hour every day, Monday through Friday. It's a great plan, but when we get on the treadmill or we go to the gym, we feel very uncomfortable because we're creating change. Well, what we do instead is we still go to the gym, we still get on the treadmill, but when we go to the gym or we get on the treadmill, we add something. And what we add is something that we really like. For example, let's say a new movie comes out that we're super excited about, or a new audiobook that we can't wait to listen to. Well, what we do is we only watch that show or listen to that audiobook when we're at the gym or on the treadmill. And that's it. So what will happen is, because we're so excited for that new series to come out, or so elated to watch that new movie, and we're only going to watch it when we're working out, what will happen is with time, the working out will be something we look forward to because we're only going to do it there. And we can't cheat. We can't come home after we work out and keep watching it. Nope, we have to turn it off. But if we do that, what will happen is with time, we will associate that activity that we see as negative as positive. And then if we do it long enough, we will begin to create a new habit and we'll like that habit. Our body, our psychic, our minds will say, oh, I like that activity because we just get used to whatever habits we do. Again, people that work out like working out. People that don't work out don't like working out. People that work out don't want to be sedentary. People that are sedentary don't want to move their bodies. Habits are just habits. But there are good habits, or habits that create peace of mind, happiness, the things that we talk about here. And there are habits that don't, like drinking a bottle of wine or two every night. That's a very bad habit for us. So with temptation bundling, it helps us transition into creating new habits. We don't have to do it forever, because like I said, with time, these new habits will become enjoyable in and of themselves. They really will. Anything we do becomes a habit. It's just a habit. We get used to it, we do it, and that's what we do. But it's that transition into creating that new habit is where temptation bundling can be so helpful, because it helps us get through challenging times. And the challenge is that change is hard. Anything we do, again, I know I'm being repetitive, but anything we do is a habit. Good habit, bad habit, it's just a habit. And when we change a habit, initially it is challenging, but then with time we get used to it. I mean, let's use a simple example. Let's say we have learned to type on our computer with 2 fingers, and then we take a class that we use all 10 fingers. Initially, we won't be as fast, and it won't be very comfortable because we're just not used to it. But with time, we get used to it, and going back to 2 fingers would seem silly to us. We would always use all 10 fingers. It's like that with any habit. We just need to create new habits. And really, people that go to the gym, work out, they like it. I mean, I know there are some people that really force themselves to go, but most people that have created a habit of being healthy like doing those things. I meditate every day, and I don't force myself to do it. I love meditating every day. It's one of the things I really look forward to. But it is a happiness habit. It's a happiness habit that I know is good for me. It has a lot of good consequences to it. And because I've done it now for decades, it's just natural for me. It feels weird if I skip, as much as someone else may feel weird doing it for the first time. Habits are just habits. The hard part is changing bad habits into habits that create happiness, peace of mind, joy in our lives. I mean, that's what this podcast is all about. There's over 300 episodes now on ways to be happy. But if we're not doing them, we can learn about them till we're blue in the face, but unless we do them, it's kind of irrelevant. And that's why temptation bundling is so wonderful. It can help us in the transition from not doing happiness habits to doing happiness habits, and then they become our new habits, and we just do them naturally. And another thing that temptation bundling can be helpful with is getting us through difficult tasks. When I was finishing up my doctorate, I had 2 things left to do. I had to do my dissertation, and then I had to prepare for my exams in order to be a clinical psychologist. These were both monumental tasks. And after 14 years, I was getting very tired of constantly going to school. Even though I loved school, 14 straight years of university was a lot of schooling. So when it came time to do these last 2 tasks, what I decided to do, because I live in Southern California, I went up to the mountains, literally, and would sit in nature and study either my exams or write my dissertation, or I would go to the beach and again study my exams or write my dissertation at the beach. And I found doing these 2 things, and I had to make a bit of an effort because I didn't live right in the mountains. I didn't live right at the beach. But what I found was doing these 2 things got me through, because I associated doing these Herculean tasks with, things that I love. I loved being outdoors in the mountains, and I loved being at the beach. And because I associated my dissertation and my final exams preparation with these 2 things, it got me through, and it got me through quite well. And I would encourage us, when we have very challenging tasks, to use temptation bundling, because it can help us get us through something. For example, let's say we have cancer and we're going through chemotherapy, and once a week we have to go into treatment for chemotherapy. But let's say we also really have a favorite restaurant what we just love. Well, what we could do is, right after the chemotherapy, we could go to our favorite restaurant and eat there. And we would only eat there after our chemotherapy. Or let's say we're going through a divorce, and every time we have to deal with something about the divorce, We schedule an appointment at the masseuse and get a massage as a way to reward ourselves for getting through a difficult divorce. When I started university, I knew I needed to get good grades because I wanted to go on and get my PhD, and that means I had to work a lot. When other people were perhaps going off and just hanging out with friends, I might be studying in the library. Well, I did this one thing that I really enjoyed. Every time I got an A, there was a restaurant that had these great malts in town that I really enjoyed. And guess what? Every time I got that A, I got a malt, and I only got that malt when I got an A. I would never go there except when I got an A on an exam. So it really encouraged me to do well, and I associated A's with a pleasurable sensation. It was a lot of work, but it was encouraging, and it kept me going. And it was something to look forward to. So the real key of temptation bundling is take something that you want to do that you know is good for you, whatever that may be. Perhaps you need to start being kinder to people and not lash out at people when you're angry. Perhaps you want to work on being more in nature and spending time outdoors. Perhaps you want to find new friends that are more positive and uplifting. Well, then what you want to do is bundle these new skills, these new activities, with positive sensations. For example, you have a book series that you really like and you enjoy. Every time you do a yoga class, you come home and read a chapter out of that book. And so with time, the yoga class will be as enjoyable as that book. Really, it can turn out that way. Again, habits are habits. That's the one you want to really realize. That's an important concept. Habits are habits. But transitioning into new habits, that is the hard part. So think about the things you're working on, whatever it may be, and say, okay, this is a habit that I want to change. I do this, but I want to do more of that. Then ask yourself, is there something I could do to associate or reward myself or limit myself in rewarding myself when I do that activity? And then begin to do that. And then with time, this is the good news, with time, since habits are habits, that new activity will become something that you will just do naturally. You won't have to reward yourself for it anymore. You'll just do it because you enjoy it. Again, getting back to exercise, people that work out regularly like it. They don't force themselves to go there. You may hate exercise, but that's just because you have the habit. People that go to the gym don't hate it and they're forcing themselves to go. They actually really like it. I very much look forward to working out every single day. It's nothing I have to force myself to do. It's pure pleasure for me. But for others, it may not be. Don't criticize yourself. Don't attack yourself. Just say, okay, can I come up with a temptation bundling as I work towards creating this new habit? And then when that new habit is installed, then focus on something else to work on. And then focus on something else. And with time, as we keep creating a more healthy lifestyle, what we'll find is by creating these happiness habits, we will become happier. Because as I so often say, we all can have beautiful lives. It takes work. It does take effort. But with temptation bundling, it can make it a whole lot easier. Thank you for joining me on the Happiness Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast, please go to happinesspodcast.org. And until next time, accept what is, love what is.